change behaviors, right? That parents could do. And how can we develop things that could be used for anybody who's in contact with kids and adolescents and parents that are having issues before they come into the health.
Voy a decir algo en español, porque voy a hablar del sistema de salud. Otra de las cosas son las campañas. Aquí pues nos hablan más del dengue, uno me ha escuchado decir esto, nos hablan más del dengue que de algunas de estas condiciones de salud mental, y no hay problema, ¿verdad? La gente, yo creo que ya sabe que el agua, posada, 24 horas, mosquitos, yo creo que ya entendimos. Sin embargo, todos los años nos hablan de nuevo del dengue y pues mueren 2 personas de dengue al año, algo así, y esta condición pues muere 8% o 10%. ¿Ve? ¿Y cuándo hemos visto que el sistema de salud hable de eso? Así que las campañas también, ¿verdad? El sistema de salud, talking about dengue here, they teach us a lot about it. We get like 1 death or 2 a year, but 8 to 10% of BPD patients die. We don't get anything from the Department of Health, that one.
So that's another good point, no? To make it a public health campaign so people can think about what are the precursors of this particular behavior and how to find help and stuff like that. No questions in common? 100.
Pues es importante decir que pueden hacer fila detrás de los micrófonos. Las personas que quieran preguntas, si necesitan traducción, la podemos también ofrecer. Así que...
¿Es español o francés? Yeah. English, Spanish, or French. So do anything, right? We can do French.
El factor de buscar la información, ubicarla donde está la información para que la gente la busque, también puede ser una vía, porque mucha gente busca información. O sea, antes de consultar, antes de ir a un sitio, mucha gente va y busca información, y si se sabe dónde ir, la gente va a ir.
And so he's talking about that the information has to be really available. So people are going to look for information, but if there is none, right? If the websites, like our website here, is it talking about, what are the whatever, the first signs, or what should you do, or call us, or anything like that? That's really failing to be able to give that opportunity for anybody who's going through the process and don't know. All right.
I wanted to add a thought, because I was working with a mom who lived up in Connecticut, actually. She was saying in her children's private school, they have one person that is pinpointed where the adolescents can go if they have a concern about a friend. So I think oftentimes we talk about what we need to do, but then we don't sort of have the pathway to make it happen. But something like that, I was so impressed here that this school identified one person where the adolescent could go and share a concern about a peer. And then that teacher or guidance counselor, whomever, takes it from there.
And that's a great conversation. And we have some people here from, school psychology that should be thinking about, how do we work with schools? So somebody, if you don't have a social worker, if you don't have a psychologist, who can be there? Who can be there that, as you said, peers many, many times are the first ones to know. Actually, parents may be the last ones to know. So how can we empower peers to come in and say, I'm really worried about so-and-so. She's doing this behavior, or he intends to do this, right? Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Irmari. I study here. I'm in the DBC team. The question is that I'm sure the campaigns are great, being on TV, on the radio, giving information out on BBD. Really gives precise and clear information of what it is, but I'm worried about internet available information. For example, I can have a breakout on my arm, and maybe it's just a rash because it's hot out, but when I read the symptoms in the internet, it says it's cancer. And then I freak out, and then I treat myself, and then I jump from doctor to doctor because I don't like that they're not saying it's cancer. So, for example, in BBD, the symptoms are very similar to when you're trying to grow up in an environment that is really harsh, like in high schools when you're a teenager. For example, right now in Puerto Rico, there's a lot of people that are saying their kids have ADHD or ADD because parents don't have all the skills to take care of it, or the teachers don't really want to deal with it. I don't know. So how can we deal with parents looking for this information, parents that don't have the skills to raise their kids, that are looking for those skills and are like, oh, I think my kid is BBD, even if it's just like normal characteristics of growing up as a teenager? How would you deal with the clients that get to you and say, I just want DBT because I know my kid has BPD? Or when you have clients that say, I have BPD because I've read a lot about it, I look for YouTube videos with Marshall Linehan, I look for videos of people that have BPD, and I think I have it because I reflect on that. How would you deal with that?
So that's the other,
The other side, what she's bringing is the other side of having information out there in the internet where there is not a professional, right, with skills and understanding of where behaviors can come from, or when this becomes pathological or deviant or whatever you want to do, versus a normative process in a particular environment. That's a great one.
I would send them to neabbd.com, right? Yeah, the website on la asociación de Perry Police, porque ahí hay video, información, y todo lo que sale ahí es solamente por profesionales reconocidos e información valiosa. Así que eso es una de las primeras cosas que nosotros hacemos, de hecho, con los pacientes. Primero que lo evaluamos y lo diagnosticamos, pero los enviamos y le decimos dónde está la información en la que pueden confiar, porque la realidad es que lo que hay lamentablemente es un montón de mitos y los videos, así que I'm saying that as a routine, we send them to your website, and we say that videos there and stuff like that are legit.
Website in Spanish.
Oh, but we can make it in Spanish.
So that's a huge recommendation, right? That it should come out of here.
They have
So Latin America and the 50 million Hispanics in the U.S.
they have some materials
can have
translated.
access. All right, so we're going to work with you, right? That's what we're saying?
We're always
To make it happen.
we're always
Part of the
working.
collaboration.
Tenemos en esa página hay un fact sheet, hay unas hojas que salen, que tienen datos de la condición, y también hay unas guías para familiares de
That's
Conderson que están traducidas, así que tenemos unos documentos que hemos traducido para ellos, están en la página. Entonces
So-
esa es la información que
So what brings me to this is that, the problem that we have is that now we have an unregulated source of information that wasn't there before, right? And that what we need to do as parents, anybody in the life of a young person, is to teach or to observe how to be a critical consumer, right, of the internet. Not everything, as I say to my students, not everything that is published in an academic journal you have to accept, Critical minds are incredibly important, and that's the society, that's schools, right? That's schools, that's parents. Maybe instead of letting them be in the internet by themselves, maybe we need to sit down with them and go, web surfing and figure out what are the places that have real confidentiality, like NIH, NIMH, whatever it is, and what's garbage. And how do you try to figure this out? So this is really bringing a huge, but for the meantime, let's have it in Spanish.
Something else that I think is really important is that people can, of course, meet criteria for the disorder, but sometimes, it's sort of like the hives, the cancer. Do people dysregulate easily? And if they do they make impulsive decisions? And if they do, does that get in the way of their functioning? Well, a lot of people don't have borderline personality disorder, but would need this. And DBT skills are actually helpful for everyone. We DBT practitioners use them continually, and we're better off for it. So this idea of, yes, I would love for us to get away from this idea of, oh, you've got it, you need this treatment, or you don't got it, and you go home. You know, if there is a struggle, if people get a little stuck in, or not stuck in meeting their life goals, this kind of treatment can be helpful. And perhaps not in its entirety, because it is a heavy, long treatment, but some version.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Good morning. First of all, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences with us. My question is regarding the concept of validation. Is it seen as a universal concept, or is it seen as constrained or limited in terms of culture? The idea of parenting or what it should look like?
Is that question for Alan?
Yeah, it's a question for Alan.
I need a consultation.
I think that's a really good question. Validation isn't about the form, it's about the function, what it means. So it's completely culturally dependent. So it's about, if I'm going to validate you, I have to understand your experience from your perspective, what it means to you. So it's not about saying, I understand when I have no idea what your experience is. That's actually quite invalidating. So it's quite a cross-cultural skill.
Okay, so it's
Understanding where you're coming from, but not necessarily saying you are right.
Right.
That's the difference, all right? Because if you would be saying you're right, whatever you're right or wrong, that's more cultural bound, right? This right in this expression is right in this society or not.
And I would add, in Puerto Rico, we are invalidating, so we start from there. That's in terms of cultural.
Domingo, I think human beings are invalidated.
Yeah, trust me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're really good at that.
We have data.
five?
We have data.
I'm
Plus
sorry.
experience.
all right.
Next question?
Hi.
You're in the net. Yes.
My name is Melissa. I'm a third-year student here. I'm doing my PhD in clinical psychology. And I have a question regarding the role of parents or negligent parents in the treatment of BPD with adolescents. So today we've learned that parents are a crucial part of the treatment of BPD with adolescents, yet we don't always encounter parents who are committed to their children's well-being. So what are the interventions done with adolescents diagnosed with BPD when parents are not committed to treatment?
I think we first have to define not committed to treatment, what that means. I think parents come across in certain ways that maybe are not accurate, but because of their own suffering, they're not sure how to convey things. Also, families are very scared walking into a treatment room. They are prepared to be accused and that they've done something wrong. So, I mean, in all the years that I've been working, and I've worked inpatient, outpatient, except for one family where there was truly abuse, I've not found a family not willing to cross the line and work with us and get help for themselves as well as their loved one. Now, maybe I just have lived in a bubble.
Most of the time they don't understand the treatment, and remember they jump from provider to provider, and all of them said, trust me, we're going to help you in some way, and it hasn't worked out. You know, the point that I made, that usually we get them really late, you know, so they have a history of going through a very, difficult health system. So.
And I'll add one little thing. Oftentimes, by the time patients arrive in our offices, it's a point of crisis. You know, this has been building for a while, and parents have had it, and they say, he's the problem or she's the problem, and why do I have to be in treatment? You know, you take care of this, you fix it. So there's this expression that I really like, which is, you have to give time to time, you have to make space for time, starting with the client who is suffering a lot and trying to operate a little bit of change, but like listening to the bells, trusting that it's there, that at some point you're going to get them back in. But I do personally make that a hierarchy. It's something that's
Usually
really important.
with us also, family connections helps a lot. Because, el clínico a veces no engancha, ¿verdad? Pero cuando van al grupo de Family Connections y escuchan a los otros padres allí, tu hijo también, y tu esposo también, y tu hermano también, se les hace fácil entonces entender, y también ven personas que están más adelantados en el tratamiento, entonces ven que vale la pena tener la paciencia. Así que muchas veces enganchamos, correcto, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Enganchamos a los padres más con los mismos grupos con otros padres. Saying Family Connections help because they talk to other parents and stuff, and then they realize that they have to have patience.
Exacto. Y también cuando empiezan a ver la mejoría en sus hijos, en el familiar, pues te enganchan mucho más, entonces quieren aprender mucho más. Así que no todos empiezan queriendo saberlo todo y querer participar tanto, pero eventualmente cuando ven la mejoría sí se participan mucho más del tratamiento.
When they see the patient, the client, really making, big leaps, that really hooks them even more.
One thing I don't think we've emphasized enough this morning is the sense of hope, and really telling families and people in recovery that there's hope, people get better. And I think once we hook them on that idea, I think then things move along and maybe they get more committed than they had been previously.
Okay, we have 3 questions. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Ismael San Antonio. I am egresado from here, 1974. So, going back to the area of validation, I think one of the things that might be interesting to consider is that when a parent invalidates the child, to understand where they're coming from. Many times they're coming from the fact that they see the behavior as not functioning for them. So the intent is to remove that so it works. But that people don't change, we know that way. Validation, when we validate, we tend to negate or to abolish the who is performing that thing. And then one more comment I want to share also is in the agenda of being a parent, all the things that they have to do when they become parent. Also, one agenda is not consciously is that we bring to the new parenthood our experience, and sometimes we realize that what I learned from my father, my mother, this one I want to apply, and sometimes automatically without questioning we apply and it doesn't work.
Another? Doctor? Sí.
My name is Noel Quintero, a clinical psychologist, faculty in the PsyD program here at Carlos Albizu. We were discussing with some of the colleagues about the diagnosis. Due to the complexity and probably also the comorbidity, clinicians, we have to be cautious of make the diagnosis in the right time, in the right moment, in the right stage, but also don't over-diagnosis. And the practical and professional question is how we can start intervening with these high-risk children or adolescents that maybe don't have the complete profile but need help. And I think that some of the presenters again very positive hints at the last comment that CBT is a potential and is a very powerful set of interventions for many people, not only for a borderline personality. And we would like maybe more hints in that area. We really appreciate it.
How do you start early? What do you do when you don't have the full-blown diagnosis, but you have something that is telling you there's a need here?
I touched a little bit on that, but I didn't have much time. But basically in stages, stages. I mean, if they only are showing some hints, then with the prevention scale that we saw, just start with some CBT and some DBT skills specific to those problems. Presenta un problema, agarra las destrezas que le puedan ayudar, y si se soluciona el problema, I mean, if I want to eat brownies, I throw them away, I won't eat them. O sea, soluciono el problema y me muevo. Y si, if it's persistent, then you move on to more specific or you know, consider an assessment for a DBT program and stuff like that. But that's the message. Just start.
But the question is that the full-blown requires the client and the family. So, I mean, one thing that would come to mind is how quickly do we need to involve the family? Is this a family therapy situation from the very beginning, or how do you do that? So I think that those are the questions that at least in my mind, that would be one.
And I think families come to us and say things like, you know, I always knew that there was something I didn't quite know what it was. And when a child suffers, most families suffer. Back to encouraging families to take family decisions. You know, even if they're happy that their child is being cared for, saying to them, look, forget your child for an instant, get help for yourself. That's what Family Connections is going to do for you. Helps them become skillful and therefore become better parents. Better parents are happier parents, right? So that's sort of.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have 2 more questions. One here, one over there, and then I think we're going to have to
I must say that I enjoy your presentation. Practice. For hearing, conceptual, yet practice. I wanted to hear more about boundaries and difficult patients, because I'm an old psychologist, that's why I had everything you could imagine. And I had difficulty boundaries when I had difficult patients. How do I handle that? Could you give me some advice? How could I go into the boundaries, break the boundaries, yet handle the difficult patients?
It's a wonderful question. I love your question. So I'll start addressing it, and I'm sure everybody has. You know, I find it really helpful to explain to a patient of mine what is going to make me a good therapist for them. If that patient walks into my office and behaves in a threatening way, maybe some of you can handle that, and that's terrific. For me, it doesn't really work, and I become preoccupied with the threatening behaviors, and I can't really focus on the therapy. Having that conversation with a client, generally, I mean, it's not about me, it's about them, right? If you are being aggressive, I can't be the therapist you want me to be. How are we together going to solve this problem of you being aggressive? So I'm giving you an example, but this example is really sort of focused on knowing what my limits are. For example, I have virtually no limits in terms of cold calling. My patients can call me pretty much at any time. I'm fine with that. Other people might not be. That's okay. Right? So it's really sort of knowing about yourself what crosses your limit. That's why we call it boundary. Limits sort of shift. And being able to remind your client that you're a team, you're working together on this, and that your limits need to be met and accepted and appreciated in order for the work to move forward. So that's my vision.
Lo que nosotros enseñamos a nuestros estudiantes y participantes en el equipo es que cada uno de nosotros tiene un límite hasta donde estamos dispuestos a llegar y para cada uno es distinto. Al igual que menciona Marie, a mí me pueden llamar a cualquier hora y si yo contesto, yo no tengo problema. Las llamadas de crisis 3, 4 de la mañana a mí no me molesta. Sin embargo, hay otras cosas que no estoy dispuesto. Ahora, en términos de la intervención y la frontera, le digo eso porque son personas que son sensibles, son altamente sensibles, así que no van a funcionar las fronteras tradicionales del libro básico de ética. Eso no va aquí. con cada paciente tenemos unos distintos tipos ¿verdad? de límites que vamos a poner basado en lo que ellos presentan. Ahora, más concreto, en términos de intervenciones, nosotros usamos también lo que dice Marie, a mí no me sale así. Yo básicamente lo que digo es eso, uno se presenta como bruto. A mí la terapia yo la aprendí así, entonces si me gritas y no puedo pensar bien, así que es una cosa mía, necesito que me hables bajito porque me confundo. Yo de verdad que no me sale. Y ellos terminan a veces riéndose, me dicen, yo sé que tú no eres ningún bruto, y sé lo que estás haciendo.
Qué bueno.
Y no va a funcionar, y se quedan quietos.
Okay.
Quiero que sepas que no va a funcionar. Y yo, ok, pero es que... Y algunos de los estudiantes que han entrado en roleplay, a ver las sesiones y han visto eso, pues se quedan un poco pasmados. Pero eso es lo que los calma, y tú lo que le dices es lo que tú le pides, lo que tú necesitas y te lo dan. 99.99, una vez no me ha funcionado, una sola vez. Y como quiera funcionó porque la persona se dio con la cabeza contra la pared y le dije, no hagas eso, que mi hijo está ahí y no quiero que vea eso. Y no lo hizo. Pero mi hijo estaba en la oficina de casualidad. O sea, uno pone el límite ahí.
Desafortunadamente hemos llegado al final, no tenemos tiempo porque si no, no van a poder almorzar, pero las dos personas que están ahí, vengan y hablen con nuestros presentadores. Y gracias. Thank you again for being here. Everybody's very excited. We're going to have lunch, but there are people coming to talk to you. This too.
Bueno, thank you all. Vamos al almuerzo. Como dijo la doctora, esta es una conversación que sigue en continuidad. O sea, es el momento de hacer networking, hacer las preguntas a los profesionales. Regresamos a las 1:15. Gracias a todos y todas. Importante, el almuerzo es en el segundo piso. Es importante que presenten su name tag, ese es su boleto para el almuerzo. ¿Okay? Cuidado.